When it comes to caring for pots and pans and cleaning pots and pans, not all care is equal. So depending on what type of material the pan is made out of is going to determine how you care or clean for it. And it's really important to make sure that you clean things properly because you can actually damage or even ruin a very expensive pot or pan by inappropriate use of soaps or cleaners. It's also really important, regardless of the material, to make sure that you wait for pots and pans to cool before you submerge them into water. If you've ever seen something that is really hot get submerged down into water, it can crack it or break it. In the case of glass, it can shatter it. So for aluminum, you want to hand wash that in mild soapy water, and it's important to use a non-abrasive cleaner to remove stains. Baking soda actually does really good with aluminum, taking particularly with hard water stains. With chrome or stainless steel, you pretty much just do it in the warm water, soap or detergent. Again, non-abrasive cleaners. For copper, you want to use a specially designed cleaner, and you want to make sure that you remove the discoloration before washing it and before using it. Copper will tinge green in liquids. For my students, one of the things that I recommend when it comes to cleaning skillets and pans is immediately after cooking to get your food out of the pan and before you sit down and eat, just add a small amount of water to the warm pan. Just put it back on the stove, just put some water in the bottom, enough to cover the bottom, and then go sit down and eat. And when you're done eating and you come back, the food will pretty much just like rinse right off. So as long as you don't let the food harden in the first place, then you'll find that it's a lot easier to clean and care for the pot or the pan. There is a video here on cast iron care that will be linked in this PowerPoint that you can watch that shows you how you can care for it and then revive it. But I'm going to include a little bit of instruction here too. When it comes to burnt on food, and I'm sure you can imagine, particularly dealing with young people that are learning how to cook, you're going to have situations where things get burnt on you. Too much time, too much heat, and this is the result. A little oven cleaner can remove it. Never ever use the oven cleaner on the cast iron. You can also let water soak in the pan with a dryer sheet in there. And sometimes, like miraculously, that will take the food off. I'm not sure what voodoo magic is happening there, but it works. When it comes to cast iron, if you have completely burnt something on there to the point that it will not scrub off at all, the best thing to do is to run it for about 15 or 20 minutes in a self-clean cycle on a self-cleaning oven on low. And it will essentially, or you could put it in a campfire, and it will essentially take the entire pan back to bare iron. You also want to do that if you need to re-season the cast iron skillet, and then you can just season it again, which is easy. So when it comes to cast iron, again, just put a little bit of food in the bottom and then go eat. And when you come back, it'll wash clean. Don't put it down in the soapy water. If you have a well seasoned cast iron skillet, then you can use a little soap on it. I know there's a lot of older people that say never to use soap on it, but if you have a good seasoning, then you don't have to worry about that. The main thing is to make sure that you use a mild detergent and that you waiting for my stuff to catch up. So you use a mild detergent and not really a harsh abrasive cleaner on it. When you're done with cast iron, dry it really well and then put another thin layer of the fat or oil. And then you actually want to not let that fat or oil sit on it. You want to bring it to a smoke point either by putting it into the oven for a few minutes, or you can put it on the stove over about medium heat until you see a little smoke. That actually breaks the oil down, and that's what creates that seasoning. So when we're talking about seasoning, we're talking about this polymerized oil coating, which is a chemical process that happens when oils are heated. They're absorbed by the iron and then they cool down and they create almost like a glaze on the cast iron skillet. This protects it from rust or water. It is actually non-stick and it is actually really easy to maintain. One of the most important things about seasoning on the skillet is the type of oil that you use. You want to use a mono unsaturated high temperature oil. Grape seed oil is really cheap and it is the best. I always heard from people in years past, oh, just put some bacon grease on there or just cook in it. And that actually does not create the correct bond. So, a high temperature oil that is liquid at room temperature is going to make the best. Walnut oil is good too, but it's really expensive. So after you get the seasoning on the pan, you want to make sure you preheat your skillet properly. So you don't preheat it up on high. You want to preheat it kind of low or medium and just get it slow. That allows the iron and the seasoning to heat together, and then the seasoning doesn't crack and flake off. So don't use abrasive cleaners or pads. The green scrubby is good. The harsh metal ones are not. Don't let it sit in water or soak, for a long time. After you dry it and wash it, I like to store my cast iron in the oven. I use it often, and I just find that's the best place for it. You just want to put a little bit of oil onto the skillet after you wash it. Bring it to the smoke point to keep it seasoned, and then don't overuse soap. A little bit is fine, and that's pretty much about it. It's really not hard to maintain seasoning on the cast iron. For stainless steel, like your saute pans, you just want to wash those in hot soapy water, rinse them thoroughly, and you do actually can allow those to air dry. For a non-stick coating, don't use a harsh scrubber. You can scratch it. And so, again, put a little bit of water in there before you sit down and eat. And then when you go back to your pan, it should be just fine. There's also a video here that is linked in the PowerPoint called Which Pan is Right for You that really outlines the difference between the stainless steel and the cast iron. And it goes down through some benefits and some drawbacks of both of those types of materials.